Kids, the 10 kids who were executed by the British. There were 10 great Jewish kids that were captured by the British. And they were told that they should get on their knees and beg for mercy, and then they wouldn't be executed.
This is easy to replace, you see? Only a book.
They were all hung.
Wow. You know the joke about the soup, right?
Which soup?
So,
Geisinsky was okay. He was religious, but he was
guy walks into sits down to eat. Or is the soup? The waiter brings the soup.
movement that there was an influence on Rabbi Kahana.
Taste the soup.
In fact, when
Geisinsky
would come to Brooklyn,
taste the soup.
With a rabbi in
Sir, what's the matter? Is it too
boy,
hot? Is it too cold? Taste the soup.
Because his father was.
So I don't understand. Is it
Rabbi
salt,
Kahana's
not the spice? Can you tell me what's wrong with the soup? Rate up, taste
There
the
was a
soup.
guy named Peter Bergson,
There it goes.
who was the
Okay, I'll
nephew
taste the soup.
of the
Where's the
chief
spoon?
rabbi of Israel.
Aha!
And he was like absolutely famous. He didn't become a rabbi.
Get it?
He didn't know.
Have you ever tried on a pair of shoes in a local store, only to order it online to save a few dollars? While it may seem obvious that big businesses need to subscribe to standards of ethics and honesty, consumers also face moral dilemmas in everyday interactions. In the New York Times small business blog, Jay Galtz, a businessman and author, comments on a modern-day ethical challenge. Lots of people enjoy saving money by shopping online. The prices are often lower, and in many cases there is no sales tax and little or no shipping charge. But there are growing problems with the after effects of this market shift to internet sales. It is becoming commonplace for customers to go into a store, examine a product, get educated by a sales clerk, and go home to order the product online. Instead of feeling bad for taking the time of someone who is trying to make a living, many people feel righteous about it. They say things like, "I'm not going to get ripped off," or they simply don't think about it at all. I have a friend who owns a shoe store, and he tells me that people come in all the time, try on some shoes, spend a half an hour with a member of the sales staff, and when they have made a choice, they announce they're going to order the shoes online, as if it is something to boast about. Boasting to your friends is one thing. Boasting to someone who has just spent time trying to help you is rude at best. Is it wrong to browse in a store with the intention to buy elsewhere? Is there a difference between browsing in Best Buy and browsing in a local mom-and-pop store? What do you think?
No? Any suggestion?
It's wrong. I'm biased. They did this to my father a lot.
So you think it's wrong?
Absolutely wrong. People would waste my father's time to know business. He was in the rag trade. And he'd come in, ask about the fusibles, ask 1,000 questions, mine him for his knowledge, and then go, okay, well, and then I'll take like a phone and say, well, you can buy the same product on the internet for whatever. Match it or I'll buy it elsewhere.
However, if he would be cheaper, would they buy from him?
Probably not, because a few times he even offered
He
to
would
match
be
it.
cheaper.
No, he said match it plus.
Not magic. Cheaper. Would they buy from him?
Sometimes no,
Why not?
because they would go try to see if they can bamboozle someone else to get it even
But
lower.
are they looking for this item and they see the cheapest place to buy is by your father? Will they go to buy from him or not?
Sometimes not.
It's, if you take his time, you're stealing. If you go into a big store and you just walk around and look, and you're not taking anyone's time, it's nowhere near as bad.
If you let him know that you have an intention maybe to buy on the internet and you're not sure whether you're going to buy with him.
How about if you walk and say, listen, I just want to see it. I have no intentions of buying right now. Would you like to show me?
That's okay.
Be honest, up front.
Listen, if you've got a store full of people, right? Salesmen get paid generally by the hour and by the scale that they make, right? So if you have a store full of people and you have to make a decision between helping this family of people that are really interested to get something because the kid wants it now, or this guy that's walking around with his phone and scanning every little thing, the salesman has enough seichel probably to realize that you want to help the family first. But if he's spending the time anyway, if there's nothing else that he's going to do during that, then I don't see the salesman why he wouldn't help somebody, especially to build a reputation.
Some stores encourage you to come in. Walmart, you go into Walmart. Do they care if you look or not? And in Walmart, you come over to the salesperson who doesn't care, that doesn't have shares in Walmart. You tell him, listen, I don't want to buy, I just want to look. Can you tell me what's the price of it?
Yeah,
Okay, your father was a pop and mom store.
Well, it was a
something different?
specialized item store. It was non-woven fabrics. That's something that you can't just get anywhere. Limited places sell it. So people would have, like in a Walmart situation, it's different because you didn't even have to waste anyone's time. You could take the item to the electronic scanner and do that. But with my father's type of business, you had to be educated about the product because most people off the street didn't understand about the difference between fusibles and interfacings. And once they got the education, then they were able to mine from him or his competitors.
Okay, so obviously you would be biased.
And biased.
And you would definitely, or that would be your opinion, whether you bias or not, but that's called stealing. Anyone would disagree with that?
Not exactly disagree, but you have to, listen, if you give anybody the impression that you might be a buyer, you have to be bona fide, interested, and willing to at least buy if the qualifications for the product are those that match up, and if the price is reasonably in the same category as you can get online. If the merchant's not really quote unquote ripping you off. If the merchant's asking for double the price, maybe you shouldn't even bother to go there in the first place. Unless you plan to bargain it down at the end. But if it's a reasonably priced item, whether a $1 difference or $2 difference or something like that, if you're giving any indication, you should really be willing to buy that product. You shouldn't be on that spot making a decision that you're going to buy it online.
How about if they walk into the store and they ask questions and they want to see if you are competitive, they'll buy from you. If not, it's not. Are they allowed to do that? Or are they also stealing your time?
If they have the intention to buy, they're allowed to do that.
They're not. They don't care where to buy. They have to buy this item. They're checking who is the best price they can get. And they're coming to your father and they're asking the questions. They're being educated. And then they ask, and what is the price for that? If you're not competitive enough, they say, okay, why would I overpay it? I can move to across the street and buy something cheaper. The same thing. So is it then called stealing too?
Maybe it's a little different the way they did it with taking out the phone while he's talking to them, looking up the price on the internet, and basically
comparing the price.
Not more than comparing the price. They didn't even know what product they wanted or needed because the internet doesn't explain certain things. So it'd be, I think, a little different if they said, hey, I'm doing comparison shopping, whatever, if they came in with knowledge, just looking for a price versus mining someone for their knowledge and then using that knowledge to go elsewhere.
And the Torah says clearly, do not wrong someone else, your fellow. Means if you have intentions, because in this country the customer is always right. If you want to have business, you always have to give credit to the customer, right? If you will criticize your customer, you know you lost a customer. So always say whatever you want, right? But this customer ever has to think that I have obligation, besides being a customer, I have also obligations to the seller. To be loyal and not to waste his time and to do the best I can because this person has to feed his family. So in this term, obviously, in order to do business, you have to please the customer. But the customer has to be also conscious about pleasing the seller. In a certain sense, Obviously, the customer wants to get the best price. The customer is entitled to look for the best price, but he has no intentions to buy. There is no permission to ask questions then. You cannot come in and ask, how much is it, if you have no intentions to buy.
What if you have no intention to buy now, but you think in the future you will buy? You'll buy probably from this merchant. You need to say, listen, I'm not sure if I want it. Let me figure out how much it is.
But do you have intentions to buy or not? That's the question.
No, you could have intentions to buy it in the future. And if you're going to buy, you're saying, okay, listen, if I decide to buy, I'm going to buy from this merchant. I'm not going to go online and get it somewhere else.
Let's open up page 172A. Ilya, read it for us.
Sure. This is 172A?
172A.
172. To see me.
No, page 170.
Oh, 172A.
Right.
I got you. When you make a sale to your fellow or make a purchase from the hand of your fellow, you shall not wrong one another. And the person shall not wrong his fellow, and you shall fear your God.
What does this has to do with fear your God? You should not wrong your fellow, and the other one said you should not wrong his fellow, and you shall fear your God. What fear of God has to do with wronging your fellow?
So when you're wronging one of God's children, you're wronging the Father too.
It's in every mitzvah. Why would the Torah repeat v'yaretem and you should fear your God?
Because God knows what your intentions really are.
Because you can say, yes, I came here to buy from you, but you inside of you think, I will not buy here. You already made up your mind that you are not buying here. And you are moving in and you're saying to him, yes, I'm looking to buy. V'yaretem elokecha, says the Torah, you should fear God. God knows what you're truly thinking inside of you. So don't say something and mean something else. That's how far it goes, and that's related directly to the words of Torah. Page 172. I'm skipping certain parts because it's not really crucial for the... Go ahead, Fahad. To see.
Oppressing someone with words is worse than oppressing someone monetarily.
Why?
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Well, with words you can play with,
Which one is worse? Money or
with
words?
words.
Why?
Good question.
Well,
Yeah.
it goes to the concept of attacking the soul, like Lashon Hara. So it would be fit right that with those concepts. You don't want to attack someone's soul, even if they're not part of the conversation. We were taught that attacking the soul is a great sin. So that'd be part of
Look over here. Money.
With words, once you say something, it's hard to take back. But if you press somebody monetarily, you can always make it up. The difference.
Very good. So here you see very clearly that money can be repaid, words cannot be taken back. If you hurt someone monetarily, you can pay them. If damages, you'll pay. But words, the moment you hurt them, you cannot change it.
Well, but isn't it the same?
Ask slicha, ask mechila, but still you hurt them.
Isn't it the same if you never ever make good on it? I mean, if you sort of screw somebody with money, right? Or
that's also bad. Obviously, if you didn't make good, so you have done something wrong.
right.
But
So it's only better.
some people say, well, I didn't hurt him monetarily, I just said a few words. What's the big deal? So the Torah says, ona'at dvarim, by saying something, and the Talmud says, oppressing someone with words is worse than oppressing someone or damaging someone, monetary or property. Then go to text 3, page 173. Let's finish this one.
Just as there is honor in business dealings, so there is honor in words. One should not say, how much does it cost, when one has no intention of buying.
So here we see very clearly that it is prohibited to come and request and ask or bother the seller if the buyer is not there truly to buy. You just come, you want to look for the prices, shop around. If you don't have intentions to buy, don't ask questions. You're allowed to walk in, you're allowed to look around, but if the prices are there, you can look at them. But if you take someone's time, that's already forbidden. What's the reason? Besides taking away his time, sometimes you say, your prices are terrible. Now, not only you hurt them damaged financially, you also hurt them, but your pricing are terrible, your store is nothing to look around. You also embarrassed them. You insulted them. So there is ona'at dvarim, it's called. Ona'at dvarim means hurting someone with your words, not being sensitive about their feelings. It's not money, it's about feelings. And obviously each and every one can get lessons in that, because no one is immune. Sometimes we just say a few words, we're making a joke. Obviously if it hurts somebody else's, that's called ona'at dvarim, which in the Torah forbids clearly.
Rabbi, what happens if you walk into a store and you're looking at something, you don't ask the owner anything, but he sees you're looking at one item and you seem to be very interested, and then you walk out and then he comes after you and he says, I could do better I could do a better price on this, or is that playing games?
Are you intending to buy? Your intention is to buy, you can negotiate. If your intention is not to buy, just to ask around for pricing, you cannot negotiate. Because let's say if that person will give you the best price, you as a customer are entitled to negotiate to get a better price. Yes. But then if you do get the price, you have to get it.
How do you know it's the best price? If you don't go someplace else? I mean, if you go to that degree.
If you look around, first of all, you get numbers from different places. You go on the internet. Before you come there, you already know what should be costing. And then you see this store happens to be cheaper than the internet. What else would you do?
Sometimes you can go into a store and you're not intending to buy something. You happen to see something you like, and then you want to...
Okay, if you like, then you're allowed to ask. Because if they would give you something that you like, you would buy it.
How about if you go into a store and you ask someone a price because you know he's ripping off ignorant people and you want to expose him?
Like the electronic stores down.
If you want...
I did that this week. So you're taking advantage of very ignorant people and really ripping them off big.
If you are thinking that they're doing something wrong, call the police.
It's not illegal.
It's not illegal.
It's immoral.
All right, so that's... Are you the moral police? You know how many immoral things happening in life?
Well, I try to do what I
Every
can.
story is going to go and start embarrassing them. There is no end to it. However, you should advise the customers, if you know, buy wherever is the best prices.
I have to stand in front of the store with a sign.
No, you don't need it. You don't need to destroy that store. You need to tell the customers that you know, be careful when you buy something. That's all. Cannot protect the whole world. At least
Do my best.
Yes, anybody else? Okay. Let's open up page 175, text 4. Go ahead, next.
Modern merchandising encourages customers to browse around even if they do not intend to buy. It depends in effect on impulse buying. Many of the displays in department stores and supermarkets are aimed specifically at this type of action. It would seem that large stores are prepared to pay both the psychological price and the actual cost involved in answering customers who do not intend to buy. They expect to earn a return for that from their impulse buying or by convincing the inquirer of their comparative advantage. The immorality of comparative shopping would perhaps be limited to those cases where the buyer has already made up his mind to purchase goods elsewhere and is only using the seller to gain information which can be used to drive a better bargain elsewhere.
So let's summarize in a few words how Torah looks at it. And that's where we're going back to this original discussion that we had about your father's store. And that's what we see over here on the, if you see the little Papa Mom's store, that is, the husband and the wife are working and they're trying to make a living and you're bothering them with questions, obviously it is forbidden. However, when you go to Walmart, which Walmart is made for people, they encourage you, just walk in, don't buy anything, just come. People and traffic generates money for them. So even though you don't intend to buy this, but you'll buy something else, they want you in, the bottom line. Ask as many questions as you want, the salespeople are there, everything is there. Are you allowed to ask or not? Are you allowed to go to Walmart to ask questions?
There's so few people that do ask questions, and it's a moot point sometimes.
Are you allowed?
But you're allowed, yes.
Yes.
No, this is way back when, in Europe, in Switzerland, to circumvent this,
Yeah.
what they've done is, for example, if you wanted to buy a watch, or a camera, or a fancy clock, it doesn't matter where you go in the country, the government actually fixed the prices around the country. So somebody's visiting the country, they're not forced to buy something immediately, they can buy it on their way back on the return. They can wait, if they're visiting for 2 weeks, they can buy the item when they leave instead of buying the first thing they see and carry it around with them for 2 weeks. So there's a number of things that are price fixed, so it avoids these problems.
There's new challenges coming up. How many of you have smartphones? Right, 50%. Now, there's an app in smartphones that you can go into any store and scan the code and see where is the cheapest store sells this item. Okay? It's the latest thing around. You don't have to bother anyone. You just walk into the store with your smartphone, you scan it, and you look. Where do I get the best deal? Simple. Are you allowed to do that or not?
No. Yes.
Yes, no.
Who
says yes, who says no?
Yes.
So yes. Why?
You're not wasting anyone's time if you just.
So you're allowed to even to go to Papa and Mom's store?
No, but if you want to.
You are a bias, don't you?
Yeah.
Why not the Papa and Mom? He doesn't ask any questions. Doesn't take anyone's time.
It's still
he just walks into the
still
store.
Different.
You know what's wrong with that?
You feel emotional, I
Yeah.
see.
You can,
But think about it, not emotionally. Yeah.
you could find, I wouldn't do that, you can find something that's relatively close, but it could be 10, 15 miles away. Why should you take the time and drive someplace and spend gas and do things to...
He enjoys to see the item, and when he sees the item, instead to say, yes, I'm buying it,
So
he
he's playing
scans
games.
it.
So he's playing games.
He's not playing games. He's a consumer,
No, but see, if you
and
find,
he can get the best price.
so what happens if the best price is 20 miles away? Does it, you have to make
He made this
you have to
decision,
make a
not
judgment
you.
that doesn't pay to do it.
Okay, then he won't do it.
You can absolutely scan it, because if it happens that this merchant has a better price that you can find with your thing, you'll buy from him. So, you're opening up yourself to the possibility that, hey, if you got a better price than this guy, or this guy plus shipping, or this guy plus driving 20 miles, then I'm gonna buy it from you. If you're doing it just for research, no. But if there's a idea that you'll buy if they got, you know, the best price. Why
When
not?
you scan it, you already know that it's probably not the best price over there, and you're gonna go somewhere
Okay.
else.
Let's see, case study number 2, on page 178.
Just 2 years after its rival was knocked out of the ring, Best Buy is itself on the ropes. The company revealed the problem last December that has left investors scrambling for answers. Even with bankrupt Circuit City out of the picture, the retailer was losing market share, especially in the key television and computing categories. Investors shouldn't assume Best Buy simply needs time to recover. Rather, the threats it faces are likely only to worsen. Take Amazon.com, whose relentless growth has undercut the raison d'etre, whatever that is,
Raison d'etre.
of specialty retailers. It has become much easier for consumers to compare prices. Ironically, using applications on the smartphone they can purchase in Best Buy. Shoppers can visit Best Buy stores to examine items before buying them elsewhere. Or as Greg Melich of research firm ISI Group says, they're using Best Buy as Amazon's showroom.
Continue. Just checking out.
Checking out an item without engaging a salesperson violate the prohibition of onanat devarim. Using the chart below, let us examine this question in light of the various opinions we have learned.
So most opinions would agree that just without asking any questions, if you walking into a store is a public location. It's not a private house. It's open to for people to walk in. You can walk in and look around if you find something you like to buy. You don't know what you're looking for. You're just looking around. Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah.
No problem. So the same thing, you're allowed to go in. If you see something, okay, let me scan if it's cheap over here or not. If that is available, what's wrong with that? You didn't do nothing wrong because you didn't take away anyone's property, anyone's time. Knowledge is yours. You have the smartphone, you have the app to scan, you can do it on your own. And that's basically, let's do it on page 180. Moshe, you want to read for us? 5a.
People may violate this prohibition disingenuously. For example, by inquiring regarding the price of products they have no intention of buying or declare, "Of course I intend to buy." Hence the verse states, "And you shall fear your God, who knows your intentions and thoughts." Anytime the Torah says, "and you shall fear your God," it is about a matter that human judges cannot determine.
Obviously, here we know that it's in your heart. You cannot say, you can say, well, I came to buy, but it's something in your heart that you can feel, I'm not here to buy. I'm just saying to him. That means, in a way, stealing the mind of that person.
Quietly is okay. If you say something wrong, you're lying, that's all.
Correct.
You should
But here, when you lie, it's one sin. When you lie and you damage someone else's property, is another sin. And when you lie someone and you hurt someone, is another sin.
If you damage or hurt.
We're speaking about damaging financially and damaging by words. We may just read 5b as well.
Behold, God is standing over you, and the whole earth is full of His glory. And He searches your mind and heart to see if you are serving Him as is fitting.
Medrash brings down at the time of Sdom, and the time of the flood also. the Medrash says people would work very, very hard, and they would plant, grow fruits, vegetables, and they would go to the market. And here, after working for months and months and so much sweat, and they finally prepared a few baskets to sell and get some earnings, they would come to the market, and each person who passed by, they would take or buy something. Said, I want to taste the one grape. Can I taste the one grape? How does it feel? They, of course, taste the one grape.
You got shop delight?
And imagine a few hundred people tasted the one grape. By the end of the day, the merchant went home with no grapes and no money. And that was the end of the, that's how it happened. You couldn't sue them because they took only one grape. But by the end of the day, the merchant was left with no money and no grapes. Is that permissible? Obviously not. V'hinei Hashem, you taking a grape and you have no intentions to buy, you cannot take this grape. So, this again shows to us another dimension. Yeah.
Let's say you're in a relatively big kosher store, and they've done a little research, and they figure, hey, for every person that we let taste, for every 10 people we let taste, 3 of them actually buy it because the flavor is so good, right? So you're saying to yourself, hey, I probably won't buy this, I'm just kind of hungry, and you take one, and they're betting on that, hey, even in that circumstance, it's so good you might be influenced. So isn't it sort of like a trade-off that in that circumstance, where they got guys in the aisles giving samples of this and this and that you can actually take it even if you don't have the intention?
Well, there is a difference between guys standing in the aisle and giving you samples, or a merchant, a pop and mom, that's trying to make a living and selling you, they have a few 10, 20 pounds that they're trying to sell to make something, to bring it in, and you taking away a grape. And another person takes another one. You know what's going to be left. But when the company sends people to stand and give out samples, that's what the company is intending. Don't buy, just take a sample, okay? Then you have no issue with that. But 181 text 6.
This is a risque paragraph. I read the whole thing already. It's a little risque at the end.
All right, let's read it first.
This law makes us keenly aware that we have obligations even toward people we generally regard as beyond our obligation. Ever since I learned of this law as a college student, I have never regarded people who work in stores the same way as I did before. Whenever I enter a store, I am forced to recall my obligations to those working there. And I know this to be true for the many others to whom I've taught this law. This in itself makes the storekeeper law particularly useful in contemporary society. Our society is obsessed with personal rights, but it will survive only if we each adopt personal obligations. Americans are frequently made aware of consumer rights, but this law makes it clear that there are also consumer obligations. The storekeeper law also forces those who practice it to see salespeople in a different light, transforming them in our minds from individuals whose sole function is to answer our questions into individuals with feelings and hopes for earning a living. The ultimate genius of this law is that it forces us to establish something of an I-you relationship with the person behind the counter rather than retaining the usual I-it relationship that we have with people whom we meet only in a service capacity. Finally, this law can and ought to be applied to other areas of life. There are powerful ramifications to the principle that if you know that you are not going to buy, don't imply that you might. I.e., don't raise expectations you know you won't meet. One such ramification was made clear to me when a young woman who had heard me speak about this law in a speech told me how she wished the men whom she dated would live by the storekeeper law. So often men imply interest that is in fact not there. Lubavitcher, that's a little risque.
Dennis Prager is a Lubavitcher?
No, Dennis Prager was far from it.
But regardless, what he's saying is correct.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Fact that to be sensitive, and it fits exactly what the Torah is teaching us, when we are acting morally and we are acting nice to people, is not because we want to be in the right circles. Not for that reason. Not because people should be nice to us, that's why we have to be nice to them. We have to be nice to them because that's the commandment of Hashem Anoat Dvarim. Hashem commanded us this way. That's the commandment. It's regardless what's going to be their return to us. How will they respond to us? We still have to act on a higher grounds. And soon we will come to the next point where which we will understand what means higher grounds and what is it for.
Let me ask you, you can go into these big box stores to go in there with all intentions to buy something, with a lot of times you say maybe they have a promotion, 0% for 2 years, and then they say, well, it just expired yesterday, and because of that, you change your mind and said, I'm not going to buy it now, I'll wait for the next event to happen, or the next holiday sale.
As long as you have intentions to buy, it's fine.
At
If
some
you
point,
don't have intentions to buy, do not walk in there. Proverb 183:7.
When a
Text
person
7.
is brought to his final judgment, he is asked, did you conduct your business dealing in good faith? Did you designate set time for Torah study? Did you engage in raising a family? Did you eagerly await the redemption?
So the Talmud brings in Masechet Chabad, a person is not going to be living forever. There will be a time when we're going to face the truth. It's called the Bed Din of Heaven. The Court of Heaven. And what is the Court of Heaven is asking us? 4 questions. Question number 1, Nasata v'natata be'emunah. Did you conduct your business dealings in good faith? Question number 2, did you study Torah? Did you designate set times to study Torah? There is a difference studying Torah or designating set times to study.
Does this include Prophet?
Yes, obviously we're studying Torah. We're studying Torah, it's related to life and business, but it's still Torah. Did you engage in raising a family? And the last question, did you eagerly await the redemption? Which one is the most important question?
The first one. Probably.
Did you engage in raising a family?
נסעת ונתת באמונה.
Anybody else?
Honest business
All
dealings.
four.
So you think, what? Which one is the most important?
It says that the Torah includes everything in one of the things that we read every morning.
That the Torah includes, so you're saying if you study Torah. Obviously, studying Torah has a lot of meaning. If you were not studying Torah, how can we be Jewish? To raise a family, if we're not going to have children, who will keep the Torah? Right? Very strong question. Did you await redemption, as we studied yesterday in the Rambam? Remember, Rabbi? Yeah. If you don't await redemption, you don't have a share in the world.
I think it's the first one, it's the action that counts.
But
Because-
why is this? The first question is about your business. Is that what's most important?
Because it's the most temptation.
You're an honest man. If you, exactly, you have temptation.
Is this the first question?
It's the
Why the first?
It's the application of what you have learned.
Because it's like, it's how you treat your fellow man, it's like loving your fellow Jew.
Okay, how you treat your fellow man.
Oh,
What has to do with business dealings?
because if you've gotten your money ill-gottenly or not Torah properly, then everything else is contaminated.
It's important, right?
Yeah.
But is it importance number 1 You said before there is something more important.
I think family, but I'm answering.
Okay, so why would that be number one question in the Talmud? Is because number one Talmud doesn't make a difference, number one and number two, or really because number one is very important? Yes.
Well, because you can judge what's, in a lot of instances, you can even judge what something is proper and isn't, because if you place yourself on the other side, stand in somebody's shoes, you could say, hey, I wouldn't want that kind of thing done to me. And if having that sort of mechanism of reflection, you still take advantage, then what you're doing is essentially you're saying that there's no God. You're denying that there's a God.
Why?
You're denying that there's a God because you're saying, hey, it doesn't matter because, all that matters is this world. And all that matters is, the way that I act outwardly, but it doesn't matter what I think, because if what I thought mattered, I would believe in God.
Okay.
Maybe because in the material world, money is a very strong desire, and if you're not willing to break God's law in order to get it, it shows you have true fear of God, which says in the Talmud or in the Torah, the beginning of fear of God is the beginning of all wisdom.
Yeah.
That's why I want to answer the question by asking the question. Don't they say when you go to Shemayim, the question they ask you, the first question they ask you is how do you conduct yourself in business?
The question is why? That's exactly the question. Read one more paragraph, 184, text 8. Moshe Rabbeinu, before passing on, he's blessing every tribe. And there was a tribe, it's called Zvulun and Yisachar. And what is Moshe Rabbeinu saying? Go ahead.
And to Zebulun he said, rejoice Zebulun in your departure and Issachar in your tents.
There was a partnership between Yisachar and Zvulun. Zvulun were business people. Yisachar were sitting and studying Torah. They were the judges, they were the teachers, everything started with the tribe of Yisachar. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu, Zvulun, when they went to do business, they shared their profits half and half with Yisachar. Whatever they got, half goes to Yisachar, half to them. And they were living on the water, they were making business, they were traveling. Who is more important, Zvulun or Yisachar?
Both equally.
Because in the school of Issachar,
Obviously it's a partnership. But who is more important?
Zebulun.
Huh?
Zebulun.
Why Zebulun?
Because he's making, if he does...
Who is teaching the Jewish people? Who are the judges? Who are doing everything for the Jewish nation?
Yeah, but he's being a light unto the nations by acting ethically in the world, bringing God's law to the nations.
But who is teaching them the laws?
Yeah, but one is exemplifying and one is teaching.
So what are you saying? Who's more important?
but in the partnership there is both sides has the same.
Partners are the same, you're saying.
I'm saying is there's a role.
Nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu gives a blessing first to Zvulun. And he says to them, first, and to Zvulun he said, rejoice Zvulun in your departure, and Yisachar in your tents. It means while he's blessing Zvulun, he's already blessing Yisachar too. But Zvulun he mentions first. Obviously, he would say, if no Zvulun, there would be no Yisachar. If there is no funds, ein kemach, ein Torah, right? The Mishnah says, if there is no dough, there is no bread. If ein kemach, if there is no food to eat, there is no studying Torah. So because of Zvulun went to business, they were supporting Yisachar. Yisachar can study Torah and teach. If Zvulun wouldn't do that, Yisachar would not be able to produce.
But Rabbi, is it because of the financial wealth that it brings, or because of the example that it sets as Jewish people to basically behave in a proper manner.
So in a literal sense, we take it first on a literal level, pshat. On pshat level it means Zvulun is the financial back of Yisachar. For that Zvulun gets credit. And they are mentioned first. Also by Yaakov and also by Moshe Rabbeinu. Another famous story about a Jewish man who the communist regime abducted him and they want to teach him how to be faithful to the Communist Party. And they asked him, if you would have a boat, would you give it to the Communist Party? He said, of course. If you have a plane, would you give it? Of course. And if you have a car, of course. How about if you have one chicken, would you give it? That's not. What? You're ready to give a car, you're ready to give a plane, ready to give a boat, but you're not ready to give a chicken who lays eggs? Well, the chicken I have. The difference is very simple. There is theory and there is practical life. In theory, I'm willing to give anything you want, God. But when it comes to practical life, this I got already. God, you're not my partner in that. You'll be my partner when I get something next. Till I get it. But the moment I get it, it's mine already. Then you're not my partner. So in that case, we understand how, and that's the next level, is it doesn't say nasata venatata in a sense if you did business honestly. It says nasata venatata be'emunah, with faith. And the way the phrase of nasata venatata be'emunah means, it's not only if you have done nothing wrong. Have you done what you have done with full faith? What does it mean, full faith? When you do business and you think that God doesn't look on you, okay, I'll do whatever is best for me. Because every person really loves ourselves the best, and we love ourselves the most, and I will do what's the best and best that will benefit me. However, if you have faith and you know Hashem is watching and Hashem is taking notes, it's not just I will sell him the broken bridge, but also to be honest and sincere about it. And to make sincere business. When we do sincere business, we're also able to bring Hashem into this world. That people and nations of the world are praising Hashem because of us. And that's called Kiddush Hashem, sanctifying Hashem's name. Which when you study Torah, you have no chance to do that. Only when you are in the business and you have to interact in business with other people, with strangers that you never met before. Other nations of the world, not just Jewish people. Then you can really bring Hashem's sanctification. When they see a Jewish person acting in a certain moral way, they say, wow, that's interesting. Blessed is the God of the Jewish people. And that means nasata venatata be'emunah, with faith. Because then we bring Hashem into this world. That's the next level. That's the way Hashem created the world. That everyone in this world has to be hired or hire people or do business, selling, buying, doing something, dealings with people. That's the way Hashem created. In order to survive, you must do that. Why? The main reason that we have a chance to sanctify Hashem's name. That we can show the world how a Jew behaves. Let's go to a page story in the Talmud. Who's next? 186, text 11.
Rabbi Shimon ben Shakat got a donkey from Ishmaelite.
Ishmaelite means an Arab. Next.
His students went to get the donkey, whereupon they found a gem hanging on the animal's neck. They said to their teacher, Master, the blessing of God that made you rich. Rabbi Shimon ben Shakat said, I have purchased a donkey, I could not purchase a gem. He went and returned it to the Ishmaelite. Then the Ishmaelite proclaimed, Blessed is the God of Shimon ben Shakat.
So here, obviously his students came to Rabbi Shimon ben Shakat and said, you bought a donkey, but God sold you not just a donkey, He gave you also a nice bonus. You saw the other day there was something on the internet I happened to see. Someone went to buy a safe, and inside the safe he found 26,000 cash. Should he return the money?
He did.
He bought a safe, and the safe gave him the money. So obviously the story is that he returned the money. So this Rabbi Shimon ben Shakat bought a donkey, and the donkey came, and on the donkey was a diamond that was worth several donkeys. And the students obviously told him, Rabbi, you got Hashem's blessing to be wealthy. Rabbi Shimon ben Shakat took this diamond and returned it back. For one reason. So that Arab should say, Baruch Hashem Elokei Yisrael. Hashem's, the God of the Jewish people, should be blessed.
As if an Arab would say that today.
I don't know what happens today, but if they get a good diamond, I'm sure they'll say something. I don't know what they're going to say.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
a foolish question I'm going to ask. I see sometimes it says Rabbi, sometimes it says Rav. What's the difference?
It's really no difference, the same thing.
Okay.
And there are several similar stories in the Talmud Bavli, in Yerushalmi, how people went out of their way to return something, even to a non-Jew, and that non-Jew was so appreciative, and he says, this is because of the Jewish people. So, in a certain sense, maybe would be permitted to keep it. But to take the higher grounds sanctifies Hashem's name, goes to public, and creates a positive image of the Jewish people. When you hear about Mr. Madoff, you know it's not just about money. It's smearing all the Jewish people. And it was covered also about the Jewish people.
At least it's
It
more.
wasn't about just Madoff. Yeah.
So is that the only mitzvah, the Kiddush Hashem?
This is the first one.
No. With regard to acting that way with non-Jews. And the reason I ask is, in that instance, do you have to let them know that you're Jewish? Because a lot of times,
You put on a kippah, you don't have to say much.
No, I understand, but
You don't have to say I'm Jewish.
You
You
have to
just
let-
have to act like a Jew. They know who
you have to
are.
let them know that you're
You
Jewish.
cannot hide your Judaism. You have to be proud of it and show it, so people will appreciate dealing with it. And many times they know they're dealing with a Jew.
So you can't return it anonymously.
Anonymously,
I mean, you can, but it would be a mitzvah.
it would not accomplish the job if you do it and it's published that a Jewish person did it. That would be even a greater Kiddush Hashem. Michael, if you open up page 187, text 12.
Rav Safra was selling a donkey. A person came and wanted to purchase it. At that moment, Rav Safra was reciting the Shema prayer. The person asked Rav Safra, would you sell it to me for this amount of money? Rav Safra did not answer him. The person thought that Rav Safra didn't want to sell it for that amount. So he raised his offer and said, give it to me for the larger amount of money. Rav Safra did not answer him. When Rav Safra finished the Shema, he said to him, I decided to sell it to you as soon as I heard the initial offer. More than that, I will not take.
You think he did it the right thing?
Yes, he made his mind up already.
He made his mind up, but he didn't say it.
But that's what he
He
was
did say it.
That's what he was
He
saying.
said it in his heart.
Later. If he would take the money, the higher amounts that was given to him, the buyer would still want to say thank you. But here, it teaches us the Gemara that he went a little bit beyond even the required law. The required law said, if you didn't say nothing, you don't have to worry about it.
But he didn't intentionally, he intentionally not said anything because of the prayer. If the same thing would have happened and he wasn't saying the prayer, then it would be a different circumstance.
Correct. Absolutely. But while he was praying, he was also thinking, listen, he was already telling me that he's buying it, so he made up his mind. Yes,
He should have been not thinking when he was praying.
That's a... However, the fact that he was praying and he came back and he was extremely honest about it, and he said, no, give me your first prize, that made the prayer even more alive. So when you pray, it's theory. When you do business, it's practical. So theory is very important. When you study Torah, it's very important. But when you bring it to action, that's what counts. And he was able to bring that prayer into action by telling him, this is the prize that I already accepted from you, the much lesser prize that was the first prize that he gave me.
Do you think the buyer knew why? Do you think the buyer knew why he accepted the first offer?
Obviously, the buyer, with that idea, realized that Rav Safra was not just looking for the dollar. Rav Safra was a man of God. He was praying. And he obviously sanctified Hashem's name by doing something like that. So here we see, onad dvarim, not to hurt someone. Be sensitive what you say, not to take his time, but then take a higher ground that we can sanctify Hashem's name. Sanctify Hashem and the Jewish people and the Torah and Hashem. That's the highest. That's why the first question was, Nasata v'natata be'emunah. Because the goal of us coming to this world is for one reason, to sanctify Hashem's name. Make Hashem real in this world. How do we make it real? When we are in the business dealings, when we are not isolated in a little room and studying, but we're taking it into action and we are able to sanctify Hashem's name, that is the biggest Kiddush Hashem. And that's where the first question is that. The next question can be, Kavat Eitim LeTorah. Kviut Eitim means creating times that we designate times for studying Torah. On daily basis, weekly basis, and so on. That this time is set aside, that I'm giving this to Hashem.
How come it's more important than raising a family?
Because if you don't study Torah, then you don't know what it means to raising a family. And then raising a family means they should continue that studying and that tradition. And then the last question is, Tzipita li Yeshua. And the Rambam brings down in Hilchot Melachim that we're going to finish this week. Is concluding the entire Yad HaChazakah on the 30th time. Those who study every day 3 chapters. If you study it only 1 chapter a day is the 10th time, concluding the whole Maimonides. And it says the Rambam in Hilchot Melachim that it's not only you are obligated tzipita liyeshua to believe that Mashiach will come one day, you have to believe Mashiach comes now, today. Because if you believe God will send Mashiach one day, it's not real emunah, it's not real faith. Real faith is when you're able to say, yes, it's happening today, and let me act accordingly. If you know Mashiach is going to come in within an hour, our actions will be in a different way.
So I have a question. Sorry to interrupt. You say that we have to anticipate Mashiach any second, at least coming tonight. When Mashiach comes, it's Tchiyat HaMetim. Am I right?
Not immediately. That we're not learning that tonight. I'm just
because
mentioning.
you touched the point before.
Tzipita liyeshua means you have to always live in a life that brings Mashiach. When we live up to these expectations, to a higher ground, we are able to bring Mashiach sooner. So it's not just tzipita, okay, I wait for him, but the actions of the person has to be in such a way to bring really Mashiach sooner. I'm on my way to the airport. I would like to tell you all good night. This coming Shabbat is called Shabbat Zachor, which means the Shabbat before Purim, that we take out 2 Torahs. One Torah is read, the regular Parshat HaShavua, which is this week is Tetzaveh. The second Torah is read specifically for Purim, in honor of Purim. This Zachor et Asher Asa Lecha Amalek, to remember what Amalek did to us, and Machot Timche et Zecher Amalek, to wipe away the Amalek. And this is an obligation from the Torah for men, women, and children to listen to this parsha, to this portion that they read in the Torah, the Shabbat. It's straight from the Torah that comes the obligation of everyone to listen to it. The same part we read again on Purim. Bezrat Hashem, after the Shabbat, next Wednesday, is going to be a fest of Esther. Wednesday evening is going to be Purim. Bezrat Hashem, we're going to have a big celebration here. And on Thursday afternoon, March 8th, will be on Purim itself, will be a very special Seudah celebration here. It's called the Purim in the Wild West. And everyone is invited to join us. Just register, make sure that the people will be prepared. The Parallel is part of the committee of the ladies who is helping out to make sure the success of this event. So with that, shall we hope and pray that we're all going to celebrate in Yerushalayim Purim, even much sooner than that. However, if not, we'll, God forbid, Mashiach won't come, we'll be here.
So you're coming back from Israel, or you're staying for?
I'm planning to stay.
Okay. So for that, you bought a one-way ticket.
No, do you want to give me a loan till Mashiach comes?
Excuse me?
Can you give me a loan till Mashiach comes, $1,000?
I think I have the most interesting shiur, the third one.
Yeah.
So the topic is very Monday.
Which topic?
All the best to you. Should be good news. Bezrat Hashem.
Have a very good, safe trip.
Thank you. Thank you.
I enjoyed the class.
Thank you. Pleasure. Good to see you. And,